This is the North Star Takes podcast with Bailey Palicki and Jacob Liberta. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and give this Minnesota Wild video a like as well. And yeah, we're going to be talking Minnesota Wild today. Obviously, they're off to a hot 3-0 start after just a thrilling game against the Winnipeg Jets that had a little bit of everything. Had some chippiness, had some fights. It had Marcus Foligno doing a Superman punch. Had Kaprizov taking like an elbowing penalty after sticking up for himself after they just kept going after him. Eriksson Ek had a hat trick. It had a empty net goal that was overturned by a stupid offsides play by the Winnipeg. I think his name is Connor.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just a wild game. I mean, so fun to watch. So yeah, they're 3-0. They're very close to dropping a game against Winnipeg, obviously, but this team is just resilient. They don't go down without a fight. It's pretty clear that like Marcus Foligno is the heartbeat of this team. He's like the heart and soul of this team. He's always there, man. He's sticking up for Kaprizov. He's fighting. He's scoring goals. Like he's just incredible. He was a fantastic choice for the alternate captain, I think.
Oh yeah, totally. You can definitely tell Foligno's the clear leader, at least one of the clear leaders in this locker room. He's great in all facets that we need him in, really. I mean, comes from just sheer leadership in the locker room, like I said, but then obviously on the ice, really taking it to these guys when they're beating up on Kaprizov. So that's good to see. He's sticking up for his teammates. And then obviously just his natural talent too. I mean, this guy can not just be a goon out there, but or an enforcer, but actually play well and contribute offensively to goal scoring. So that's huge. But I think also going beyond Foligno too, I think it's good to see that this other game, especially this home opener, I wouldn't expect anything else from a home opener. Like you said, crazy game, but it's good to see everybody contributing. I mean, we had Matt Zuccarello scoring, what was that, 2 goals, had 2 assists. So that's a solid 4-point night. And then Kaprizov, it always starts with Kaprizov on the Wild, and he had another 3 assists. Still waiting for him to score his first goal this season, but it'll come in due time, and
for sure,
he'll probably, once he gets one, then he'll probably have a bunch. But goes beyond them too. It's like obviously the goaltending was a little shaky the other night, but it's mostly been solid with Talbot, so that's also another strong point to this team. But there's not a lot of weaknesses to this point that you can really identify with the squad. So obviously the less weaknesses you have, the better. But I think it's a pretty solid roster up and down.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about this first line for a little bit here, because I was skeptical of moving Eriksson Ek up. I was kind of hoping he would stick with his line of Foligno and Greenway, because they were such a great line the last couple of years. But man, was that a smart decision. I mean, I truly think he's developed himself to be a potential number 1 center. Like if Marco Rossi ends up coming up and he ends up being the number 2 center because Eriksson Ek is doing so well on the first line, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, because
it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, like the guy scores a hat trick. He's clearly got some skill to him. I mean, that goal he scored to tie it up at 5, where he swats the puck out of midair from like standing basically parallel to the net. I mean, just a crazy good hand-eye coordination goal. Then you have Zuccarello, who's just a fantastic playmaker. Like, I thought this guy was washed when we signed him a couple of years ago. Paul Fenton gave him a 5-year deal when he was already in his 30s. And so I just thought that was a stupid deal at the time. And 5 years probably still wasn't smart. But now we're on to year 3. And last year he was good, and him and Kaprizov showed good chemistry. They brought that right into this year. Those guys, just the passing between those two is incredible. And then either one of them can set up Ek, who just sits in front of the net and does all the dirty work. I mean, it's just a pitch perfect line. I mean, and then like you said, once Kaprizov starts scoring, this line is just going to be on absolute fire, because all 3 of them are capable of putting the puck in the net and setting each other up.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's amazing, this first line. Yeah, I forgot to mention Eriksson Ek right off the top of this, but yeah, the hat trick, that's incredible. And then it's amazing to see his evolution these last couple of years, especially ever since been in charge. I think that Eriksson Ek has really taken these steps forward into being a true number 1 center, and that's obviously going to be big for this team, especially this year, and trying to be a cup contender. So I think Ek, just better and better every night, I swear. And then when he gets to play with really good line mates like Zuccarello and Kaprizov, obviously you're going to get results like this more often than you might even imagine. So I think that's awesome that we got a first line that's could be as good as anybody's in our division. So I'm pretty excited about that, and really that the depth goes beyond this first line, but it really starts with this first line as well.
Yeah, you just can't say enough about the job that Gary and Dean Evison have done, and I think Dean Evison's a really good coach, honestly. Like the line pairings he comes up with, he's not afraid to switch things up, especially on the power play. Like he'll mix and match if he needs to. And he just puts trust in his players and he holds them accountable, which is just massive. Like Bruce Boudreau, I thought was a good coach too, but I think Evison just brings a different level of intensity. And I think it's kind of like with the Wolves and Finch. I think players just really respect him because he doesn't, there's no BS with him. He just cuts the crap, gets straight to the point. He's going to tell you exactly what he's thinking, which is perfect. Honestly, I love that about this Wild organization. Bill Guerin and Dean Evison are going to tell you exactly what they're thinking.
Be straight up.
Exactly. There's no need to sugarcoat anything, and that's what I like. And that's kind of the way hockey is, honestly. Like it's just we got to get pucks deep and put pucks on net. Like they're no nonsense. They just, it's just hockey speak. But yeah, I love the direction this team is going. The only concern I will say is there's some slight defensive concern, I think. Obviously, that third defensive pairing isn't fantastic between Kulikov and Merrill. And I know they're going to mix some other guys in as well, like Jordy Ben, I believe. Yeah, Jordy Ben. So it'll be interesting to go ahead.
Addison will be up too, but
yeah, Addison will be up at some point, I would imagine. But so yeah, that's a little bit of a work in progress. Talbot obviously didn't look great against Winnipeg, but I think that's just one bad game. I'm not going to say he's cooked or anything, but
yeah, it's always that bad games.
Exactly. One thing I will say is I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this season we kind of see a transition where Kaapo Kähkönen is actually the number one goalie at the end of the year, because I think he's got the potential to be really good. And so if Talbot just kind of has an average year and Kähkönen can have a good year, then I could see him vaulting himself up there.
Oh, I totally agree. He's the young guy we've been developing for how long now. So I think the potential is definitely there, and I'm real excited to see how he does this season. I think he put together a solid rookie year last year, so I think if he builds off that, he's going to be even better. And he was pretty good for stretches last season, so I think there's a lot to see there. And I think he probably, as we're recording this, I'm kind of wondering if he's going to get that start against Anaheim on Saturday, because we're playing Anaheim next. And I'd imagine, did they already announce that?
No, they haven't.
Okay, I'd imagine he will though, just because now we're 3 games in, Talbot's gotten all the starts. I'd imagine they want to mix him in here sooner rather than later, just to see what they got, get his feet wet for this season. But then again, maybe not. I don't know. But in due time, soon enough, he'll get a start, and then we'll see where he's at this season after a full off season of hopefully getting better. But
yeah, I'm not exactly sure how they'll do it this weekend, because they got Anaheim Saturday and Nashville Sunday. So it's back to back. So typically they go Talbot, Kähkönen, and then they have a game Tuesday. So that would give Talbot like an extra day of rest.
Good point.
So maybe they'll do Talbot Saturday. I don't know. It probably doesn't matter, honestly. I don't know who the better team really is because I think Anaheim's kind of on the come up.
I think so too.
Whereas Nashville, I think, is kind of bottoming out a little bit. So maybe you'd feel more comfortable with Kähkönen against Nashville instead of Anaheim, but it probably doesn't matter either way. I don't think you can really base it on who the opponent is necessarily, especially this early in the season. So
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we don't exactly know, or nobody really knows what they're going to get out of some of these teams yet. So it remains to be seen. Like you said, traditionally they've gone, like you said, back-to-backs going Talbot and Kähkönen. So I guess it definitely won't surprise me if that's the route they choose to go down.
So with the depth of this roster from top to bottom, do you truly believe these guys can make a run at a cup? I know they made the playoffs. They took Vegas to 7 games last year, but do you think they're capable of making a pretty good-sized jump and being in that conversation?
Yeah, I really think they are. I know Wild fan bias, but at the same time, I think even taking that cap off, it's hard to deny this team, just because they've proven just within these first 3 games they can really win whatever game you really, really put in front of them, because I think they can get into a gritty physical game and grind it out like they did in the opener, where they win 2-1 off a goal scored in the last 10 seconds. But then you get in this shootout with not in hockey. It wasn't an actual shootout, but got an overtime.
You got me.
But win a 6-5 game against Winnipeg, and that's when you need a lot from your offense and all these talented players you have that are just game breakers. So I think just based off of that, I think the ability to win different kinds of games against different kinds of teams, I think that's going to go a long ways for us. And in the end, though, it'll come down to how well we play against this division. I think getting in the playoffs won't really be an issue, but I think it's just going to come down to how good are we against our divisional opponents. Like, we can beat all the Anaheims and LAs of the world, but at the same time, when it boils right down to it, can we win against teams like, for instance, an Avalanche team, or like we beat Winnipeg tonight? That's huge because they could be right in it. Or St. Louis said they've gotten off to a hot start. Here's recording this, they're 3-0. So it's just going to come down to that, and if we can play all these different kinds of hockey with these teams and the challenges they present, I think that's the biggest thing to think about here.
Yeah, and I think they kind of have to go the route that we've talked about the Vikings too. It's like, I think you need to have some sort of home ice advantage. So like winning the division might be tough just because of how good Colorado's supposed to be. But if you can get like that second spot and have a series where you have the home ice advantage at least, and then you move on from there, like, that's so big. Because like last year, obviously, we didn't have home ice against Vegas, and Game 7 ends up being in Vegas, and that was kind of a letdown. So I think it's important to have the home ice, especially with how great the fans are here. And they even talked about the fans after the game against Winnipeg, how crazy the fans were and how awesome it was to have them back and how much of an impact the fans make. So like, that's definitely not an underrated part of this whole thing. So I think they just got to shoot for having the best regular season they possibly can. Keep the pedal to the metal, get as many points as you can. And maybe they can win the division. I don't know, because Colorado hasn't had a great start either here with Kemper in net. So
true, yeah, it remains to be seen. Goalie. Yeah, Kemper, I really want to see how that works for them, because obviously they've had Grubauer these last couple of years, and he's been pretty good in his own right. But now they got Kemper, who I think had a pretty solid time in Arizona for the most part. So I think he's going to be good, but at the same time, you never really know. Yeah. But I mean, I don't think Colorado was the Cup favorites coming into the season for nothing. So I think that's going to be quite a hill to overcome. But at the same time, why not us?
Yeah, I'd really say Colorado and Vegas are the only two teams I would be somewhat concerned about in our conference.
Yes.
The East's got some pretty good teams, but you don't have to worry about that till you get to the Cup. So
yeah, exactly.
We'll worry about that when we get there. But I'm with you. I think they're definitely in the conversation. And hockey's just one of those sports where if you're in the playoffs, you have a chance. But
playing your best at the end.
It really feels like with this group and this talent, this leadership, like, it just feels like everything is coming together the right way. And that gives you a better feeling about, them actually having a chance when it comes to winning playoff series and going all the way.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's going to do it for this edition of the North Star Takes podcast. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video a like as well. Leave your comments below how you're feeling about the Minnesota Wild. If you think they're Cup contenders, if you think they might be pretenders, things you'd like to see improve, or if you're just blown away by how good they've looked so far. Give us a follow on both Twitter and Instagram, and thanks for watching.